Nuremberg is a real Hitler town. We had the annual rallies in Nuremberg. We had a local Gauleiter by the name of Streicher who was very anti-Semitic. So we in Nuremberg felt this Hitler business right from the very start. It was horrendous, quite horrendous. It was extremely difficult. Then in 1935, Hitler published the Jewish laws, the anti-Jewish laws. It meant that your parents lost their livelihood. Whether you were a doctor, a lawyer, or a shopkeeper, you could only deal with other Jewish people, which meant, of course, that your income shrank and you were persecuted. We knew from that moment on that there's no future for us in this country. We need to try and get out of it. Life at school was difficult. There were 3 Jewish boys in my class. We were sat at the back of the room. Nobody would talk to us, neither the children nor the teachers. Because if they would talk to Jews, they will blot their copybook and they might lose their job, they might lose their advancement. So eventually my mother took me to Jewish school in Fürth, Israelitische Realschule Fürth, which was a very famous Jewish grammar school, and I got a very good education there. Unfortunately, because of the Nazi time, there were 52 kids in our class, so you can imagine the pressure was on. The pressure was to leave, to find somewhere to go. Kindertransport was the most fantastic rescue operation ever. Jewish community in London, some high-powered people said, let us at least collect money to bring the children out. And the Germans agreed that to let the children go. So this was organized immediately, and committees were set up to find way to take children to other countries. In Britain, a lot of money was raised and trains were arranged, and children came to Great Britain. About 9,500 of us were allowed to come into this country alone, only unaccompanied children, no parents, nothing else, only unaccompanied children. But a wonderful rescue operation. Eventually my parents, we found someone in Glasgow to take me, to guarantee for me, and we left Nuremberg by train. The train was full of children, some aged 6, 7, and 8 years of age. They were howling, they were absolutely crying terribly, never been away from a mom and dad before. When after a few hours we got to the Dutch frontier, even there, once the Nazi guards left the train, even the young children who had no idea what's happening felt the pressure rise from their shoulders. And eventually we were received in Holland, ladies with hot chocolate and sandwiches and apples. And eventually we crossed by boat the Channel to Essex, to Harwich, and from there by train to Liverpool Street Station. But what was it like coming to Glasgow? There was no animosity. Nobody called you a dirty German or dirty Jew. You were taken. People were kind and helpful to you. I was immediately sent to school. I went to Queen's Park School for a few weeks, which was fine. I was the only foreign boy in my class, but there was no animosity. People were friendly. And then, of course, the war broke out, and things changed immediately. We were evacuated. The government suggested we should be evacuated to the country. I was evacuated to Perthshire. While I was in Perthshire, I went to school there. It was very, very nice. The headmaster at my school looked after me, being the only foreign boy. I got a reasonable education, and I was in Perthshire for 6 months. And then when war broke out, of course, the problem was no communication with your parents. With a foreign country, everything stops. No telephone calls, no letters. So how am I to get in touch with my parents? Would they know I'm still alive? I had an uncle in Brussels. I sent letters to my uncle in Brussels, who forwarded them to my parents in Nuremberg. And then they came back, Nuremberg, Brussels, Glasgow a few times. They were censorship. The letters were opened. I was charged with corresponding with the enemy. I was arrested. I was taken to the High Court in Edinburgh. And within half an hour, I remember the name of the judge, Sir John Strachan. Within half an hour, we came to this country as friendly enemy aliens due to religious persecution. Within half an hour, I became a dangerous enemy alien, category A, because of corresponding with the enemy, which was a very serious offense in wartime. I was arrested at the High Court in Edinburgh. I was put on a train to Queen Street Station. 2 detectives took me home, gave me an hour to pack, and then took me to the police station. But being Scotland, the sergeants in Old Carney-Taken was under 17, not allowed in a cell, Scotland being a civilized country, right? So I ended up in various camps, which were not very nice. And eventually we were sent to the Isle of Man. Before we were sent to the Isle of Man, we were in various camps here. One in Edinburgh, which was, well, it was difficult. When we got to the Isle of Man, we were taken to the other side of the island, Peveril Camp Peel. We were well treated. We had enough to eat, but we were behind barbed wire. We had no freedom. We couldn't do anything, yes? And it was very hard. Okay, I was young. I was surrounded by lots of German and Austrian and Czech Jews, highly educated professors, school teachers. And to me, it was like a university. It was quite tremendous to be there, to see, for example, you know, all the people, no wives, their wives were not in turn. They were playing chess with their back to the table, given 10 seconds to call out the next move. So to me, it was an education. We were not ill-treated. The problem is MI5 really suspected that my letters contained some information. And I got a new roommate who turned out to be an MI5 officer, we found out eventually. He tried to get me drunk, he tried to get information I didn't have. Well, as we were all young people, eventually when I came home from the internment camp, we found a club, a refugee club in Soaking Hall Street, the little house on the hill, where there were lots of young people, and obviously you wanted to join that. So I joined that club. We were very politically active. We were fighting for a second front. We were anxious to support the war effort. And there were about 30 or 40 young people. We had great discussions. We helped the war effort. And amongst these people was my dear wife Ingrid. Well, we got together and we liked each other. And we got married very young at the age of 20. Why did we get married so young? Ingrid's parents left Germany before the war as a domestic couple. And I was not marrying a girl, I was marrying into a family, which when you're on your own, it was really, when I think back on it, it was very important. So we got married very young, and we settled down in Glasgow, and we've been in Glasgow ever since. We started skiing here in Scotland, in Aviemore. But skiing became very important to me, snow and skiing. And the whole family, the children, everybody went skiing. Through the skiing, then I found many disabled people, blind people. I skied with blind people. And then I found British Limbless Ex-Servicemen Association, and I joined them. And for 25 or more than 25 years, we took a group of British soldiers without arms or legs or other damages from Afghanistan, from the Falklands. We took them skiing in the Alps. And it was wonderful. We became great friends. We had a wonderful time. To teach these guys who said that we can't do that, but they can do it better than ordinary people. They always wanted to do that. So for 25 years, eventually I became their chief instructor for ski bobbing. And for the services to disabled British soldiers, Her Majesty the Queen awarded me an MBE. It was very, very wonderful to get the MBE in Edinburgh, not in London, in the Palace of Holyrood House, which was very nice with my daughters. And I'm very proud of that, to get an award for something you have really done yourself, something you did yourself, not usually you kicked upstairs, but no, this is something I did myself, and I'm very proud of the MBE. When I think of it, in Germany, they sat around a table in Berlin at Wannsee. They sat around a table and decided to order barbed wire, to order gas, to order concentration camps, and simply to eliminate people altogether, which is just too horrendous to think of. And for that's why we thought it is important that these things should not be forgotten, that they should not happen again, that we should, because things are in a bad state all the time. I mean, refugees from everywhere. We have a big refugee problem now. And as a refugee myself, when you come to a country and you're given a hand, which is quite tremendous, that really helps you. The one day is Kristallnacht, which I somehow escaped in Baden-Baden. I went back home for Kristallnacht. This was horrible. People come to your house, they smash the door in, they turn over the furniture, they cut open the downies, everything was full of feathers. It was quite horrendous. Obviously, you couldn't go to school the next day. All the shops were smashed in, glass everywhere. That's why it's called Kristallnacht, you know, because everything was smashed up, your crockery was smashed up. It was horrendous. I mean, in 2 nights, 9th and 10th of November, so you can see, they said the German people rose up against the Jews. Nonsense. It was an absolutely well-organized affair all over Germany. 1,000 synagogues were set on fire. So that was the end story. After that we knew, let's get out of here. But who will take you in? That was the next problem. We were lucky with Kindertransport, very lucky. I want people to think of the cruelty of, because you're a different color, you're a different religion, you should be sent away, exterminated, not spoken to, have no contact with them. And all this eventually leads to hatred and extermination. This is something we've got to fight against, we must not do.